When I awoke, I couldn't see anything, and I didn't know if I was dead or alive. But gradually, I felt my chest and legs and wiggled my toes and realized that my body, at least, was unharmed. I was in a rock-hard bed that smelled of menthol. Sunlight was shining on my face, and I could hear footfalls around me. There were low murmurings nearby and faraway conversations, all in French. I reached up to my eyes and felt a bandage around them, and with that, I knew I was alive. I said my name in Russian. My name is Vadime de Massloff of the 1st Regiment of the Special Imperial Russian Air Force. Someone answered me in French. Hey, no need to shout, mon ami. We can all hear you. You're surrounded by a dozen blessés. Get a nurse, someone. The Russian bear is awake. I asked the voice what day it was. Thursday the 5th, he said. What month? July. The man next to me was called Favourier, a poilu who loved to talk. He had been injured in Verdun, a bomb blow to the chest that had left him with one lung. He told me that I'd been brought in 2 days previously, the day after him. There had been so many wounded at Verdun that all the hospitals there were full. Everyone had been brought 100 kilometers to here, a makeshift field hospital just outside Vittel. It was still in the zone of the armies, he said, so it wasn't entirely safe. I asked about the menthol. It's not menthol, he said, it's anise. They used it when they made absinthe. He explained that the hospital used to be an absinthe factory, and that all the beds in the hospital were stacked absinthe crates, which still reeked of anise. He laughed and told me not to worry. The smell was good for the fever. The next few days were filled with interminable boredom and pain in my eyes, particularly my left eye. I found out how difficult it is to remain lying down for days on end. The nurses were busy, too busy to stay by my bedside for more than a few moments, and I passed the time listening to Favourier. My ears became my eyes. Every so often, someone would touch my toes and tell me his name, and I would reply. By the time I'd put names to all the different voices, there would be a new voice and new name to learn. Many died. Most were sent back to the front. Only a few were sent home, and everyone was jealous when they said goodbye. They took letters to post and promised to return belongings. The nights were the worst. Surrounded by the sleeping, I heard private miseries being uttered or subdued crying. In reality, no one slept very well or for very long, but everyone left alone the men who chose the night time for grieving. I didn't tell Favourier anything about Matahari. She was the one thing I wanted to keep for myself. I carried a photograph of her tucked inside my sheepskin on every sortie I flew. I had met her in Paris in April, just 3 months previously. 2 acquaintances of mine, officers in the French Air Force, had told me that they had a lunch appointment with Matahari. They wanted to introduce her to me. They said she loved meeting officers of all nationalities. I waited in the gardens one warm afternoon and soon saw them walking among the trees and symmetrical paths. She was wearing a white flannelette dress and a wide-brimmed hat. She was as beautiful as a gypsy, with long dark hair and huge eyes. As my friends introduced us, she held out her hand, which I took. The Frenchman treated her with grave respect, as though she were untouchable. But I could see by her expression that she was timid and craved love. I'd thought about her a lot since then. Too much, probably. After 4 weeks in the hospital, the nurses removed my bandages. The room was too bright. The sunlight shone from the coif of the nurses, obscuring their faces, and all the walls were blocks of burning white. I still couldn't see out of my left eye, so I was given a patch for it. Favourier immediately christened me the Russian pirate. Later that day, a letter came for me. It was from her. She wrote that she had only just heard I was in hospital and was making arrangements to come to Vittel. She asked me to keep her visit a secret, as she didn't want any undue attention. Of course, Favourier grilled me about the letter. but I said nothing. Her letters to me at the front line had kept me going through the worst days, but the prospect of seeing her was almost too much to bear. A few days later, I was deemed fit enough to be moved upstairs, where inpatients stayed before being sent back. The nurses said they needed the bed. I told Favourier not to worry, that I'd be back to see his ugly mug soon.